When I rated these, the rules I went by were that they had to be picked by Raiders within the first 3 rounds, and then I took into consideration their time as a Raider, their accolades, statistics, loyalty to the brand, and their impact on the team consistently. To start out with this top 20, we are going to acknowledge some great running backs to be drafted in the silver and black then. At number 20, I am starting with the 18th overall pick of the 1995 draft, Napoleon Kaufman. He spent all 6 years of his NFL career with Raiders before retiring to the Christian ministry and eventually becoming a pastor. Mark Van Agen comes in at number 19 as the third-round pick, 74th overall of the 1974 draft. Agen was the all-time leading rusher at 5,907 yards up until 1987 when he was dethroned by Marcus Allen. Number 18 was the 24th pick overall of round 1 in 2019, Josh Jacobs. In his 5 years as a Raider, he racked up over 5,000 yards and almost 50 touchdowns. He is the third all-time leading rusher and would be higher on this list if he stayed or eventually comes back. At 17, I'm looking at the 15th overall pick in the 2018 draft, Colton Miller. He has been a solid tackle for the most part, starting in 107 of 109 games played, even playing through injury on several occasions. Shifting to defense, at 16, I'm looking at the 5th overall pick of the 2014 draft, Khalil Mack. He only spent 4 of his 11 years as a Raider, but he made a huge impact, often carrying those defenses. Coming in at 15, we look at the 31st pick of the 2003 draft, Nnamdi Asomugha. Asomugha's stats didn't paint the best picture for him as he wasn't tested often. A true shutdown corner for the silver and black. At 14, we are going back to that 2014 draft, second round, 36th overall, Derek Carr. Carr is the all-time passing leader, sitting at 222 yards with 217 touchdowns to 99 interceptions. Number 13 comes from the 1971 draft, 19th overall, the assassin himself, Jack Tatum. Tatum stacked up a respectable 37 interceptions over his 10 years, but he was most known for his vicious hits, which is why he was nicknamed Assassin. The 12th pick here comes from the 1989 draft, 29th overall pick, Steve Wisniewski. Wiz was the standout guard of the 90s. He only missed 2 games of his 13-year career from injury. He was a wrecking ball that paved the way for others on the field. At 11, we look to the 23rd overall pick of the 1973 draft, Ray Guy. It feels weird to add a punter to this list, but Ray Guy is the only punter to be enshrined in the NFL Hall of Fame. He was a large part of all 3 Super Bowl wins by the Raiders. Going into top 10, we look at the overall point leader drafted 17th overall of the 2000 draft, Sebastian Janikowski. He scored almost 1,800 points in his 18 years as a Raider, with his longest field goal of 63 yards. Number 9 is another one from the 1974 draft, drafted 45th overall, Dave Casper. Casper is mostly known for his classic plays like Ghost to the Post and the Holy Roller. He is arguably the best tight end in the history of Raiders, earning his spot in the Hall of Fame. Number 8 comes out of the 1965 draft, 11th pick of the second round, Fred Biletnikoff. A one-time Super Bowl champion and Hall of Famer, he is also Raiders' number 2, receiving leader of all time at almost 9,000 yards, with 76 touchdowns over his 14 years of playing, all for Raiders. At number 7, we go back to that 1968 draft with the 52 overall pick, the Snake, Ken Stabler. Stabler was nicknamed the Snake for good reason. He wasn't afraid to break free and run when needed. He is one of the best, if not the best, quarterback in Raiders history, leading them to their first Super Bowl victory and captaining Raiders' prestigious team of the 70s. At number 6, I'm looking at the 1982 draft, 10th overall pick, the rushing leader and Hall of Famer himself, Marcus Allen. A Hall of Famer himself, Allen made the most out of his career with Raiders as he hit almost 15,000 yards with 99 touchdowns. At number 5, I went with the 48th overall pick of the 1981 draft, Howie Long. A Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer, and just a wrecking ball of a defensive end, mastering his signature rip technique that became a staple for defensive linemen to this day. For number 4, I look at the 1998 draft, selected number 4 overall, Charles Woodson. Woodson is arguably the most fan-favorite Raider in my lifetime. He was the cornerstone of Raiders secondary, especially when he came back for a second stint. Number 3 on the list comes out of the 1988 draft, selected number 6 overall, Mr. Raider, Tim Brown. Brown came in as a dual-threat return man and wide receiver. He is the leading receiver with the Raiders, staying with the team that drafted him for 16 seasons. A Raider through and through, and my all-time favorite growing up. Number 2 comes from the 1967 draft, the 17th overall pick, Gene Upshaw. Upshaw played in 3 Super Bowls, helping win 2 of them. He was the main guard, imposing his will on defenders and making big holes for the running backs. Along with our number 1 pick, these guys imposed their will on defenders. And at number 1, we look to 1968 with the 80th overall pick, Hall of Famer Art Shell. Shell helped Raiders win 2 Super Bowls as a player, then helped win a third as an offensive line coach. In 1989, he was promoted to head coach, becoming Coach of the Year in 1990 when he led the Raiders to the AFC Championship game. Shell belongs at the top of this list because as far back as I remember, and to this day, games will always be won and lost in the trenches. No other player or coach in franchise history can say they did what he was able to do. Without guys like Upshaw and Shell paving the way on the field and teaching the next generation, the Raiders wouldn't have been the force they were in the 70s and 80s. Did I miss anyone, or do you feel some players should be moved up or down on this list? Sound off below, and go Raiders!